Alright, hey, what's up guys? This is another awesome tutorial for you. Hope you guys enjoyed last week's tutorial. If you didn't, go check it out. I'm putting a link up over here. Go click on it afterwards, so not now. And as I promised, this week we're going to be doing a tutorial on Blender, on 3D. I am a very big supporter of Blender. It is freeware. It has developed very well. In fact, I recommend it. So I have used Maya. I used Blender at first quite a couple years ago, and I've moved to Maya, and I must say my experience has been really awesome. They have developed extremely well. And so the question is, what is Blender? Perhaps you watched my last tutorial and you heard about this Blender this week and you don't even know what I'm talking about. So Blender is basically a 3D animation and modeling software. It is open source, which means that it is absolutely 100% free, and it has been very well developed. It can be used for 3D modeling, for video editing. You can even use it for animation, compositing. You can use it for painting, sculpting, even visual effects. You can use it for cloth simulations, for particles, creating particles, for smoke simulation, for even for 3D printing, guys. Yes, you can use it for 3D printing, and you can even use it for 2D animation as well. Okay, so it has a huge amount of use. So what we're going to do in this tutorial is we're going to cover, first of all, the navigation. How do I navigate around the software? And we're going to basically, we're first going to look at the 3D viewpoint. We're going to look at navigation, and we're going to look at little Gizmo in the corner, your 3D Gizmo. And then I'm going to include some shortcuts, because I'm a big fan of keyboard shortcuts. If you're not a big fan, that's cool. You're going to know the non-shortcut version as well. I'm also going to teach you a bit on pie menus, and then we're going to look at your different tabs, and then as well as we're going to model a chair in this tutorial. I'm going to cover this as quickly as possible, and this is going to also be your tutorial as you are, don't forget this video, or don't put it away after you've watched it. I find myself going back and forth because sometimes, the thing is, what I've learned about 3D is that there's so much to it. You can't be a master of when it comes to 3D, because there's different sections to it, and what you'll often find is you're either going to be a jack of all trade and master of none, or you're going to pick something specific that you really enjoy and very good at, and you're going to master that, or else it's going to take you very long to cover everything. And just in case you're wondering, this light does not work. It's not plugged in. Alright, I was going to put it on, but it doesn't work. Okay, so let's get cracking straight away. This over here is Blender. If you want to download it, I'll put a link in the description. I just want to open it up from scratch so I can show you what you basically deal with. So this is how it opens up. This is your launch page. You can see here are my projects that I'm working on. Yes, I did model Lego, and this is our current movie that we're busy working on at the moment. So this is what you get. This is what you get. You can also create a brand new file, and yeah, if you want to do video editing, VFX, those are just sort of shortcuts. It's basically these are not tutorials. In case you want to get happy, these are just default layouts. So what I do is I just click in open space. All right, so you can, this is what you open up with, a default cube, your default light, and a default. So this is basically your 3D space that you're working with. The first thing that I'm going to start off with is your 3D viewport. And so how do I select? I select by left clicking on an object. All right, and if I want to deselect, I can just select in an empty space. The other thing I can do is I can press A to select everything, and Alt A to deselect everything. So if you've got the camera selected, or you are busy within your project and you've got a couple of things that are selected, if you want to deselect everything, Alt A. Navigation, right, so how do I rotate? And for me to rotate, if I have a mouse button, a mouse middle button, the scroll button, if I click on that, if I press that mouse wheel down and I drag, then I move around my object. I can pan and I can tilt. I can move all around this object. If I want to pan, then I press hold down shift and hold down my mouse button, and then there you go. I can pan, I can I can move my camera up and down, you know, so if I've got something else over here, then I can look at it if I want to pan back here. How do I zoom? By scrolling the middle mouse button, then I zoom. So I can scroll in and I can scroll out, and that basically does zooming. If you are like me and you're using your Mac trackpad, I don't know about Windows the trackpad, you can check it out, but my 2-finger drag does my panning for me. I can also zoom by pinching, by doing my pinch, you know, pinch in and pinch out. I don't use that, I use my command. So if I hold down command and then I 2-finger drag in and out, and then the same with moving, I hold down shift and 2-finger drag. Alright, so that is basically my rotation, pan and zoom. Now what I want you to look at is that I have this little gizmo in the corner here. This is another way of rotating around it. I have my X, my Y and my Z, and these are your different axes, my different axes, because X is red and there it is. Alright, that is in that direction, and Y is in this direction, and Z is in this direction like this. And what I can do when I move my mouse over this gizmo, not on the actual axis, but like in between here. Now if I drag, I can also move around my object. Otherwise, the other thing I can do is I can select a specific axis, so X, and now this is my view from my axis, my axis, that axis, yes. And then if I click on Y, then I view it from another direction. So what do I mean by this? All right, and if I want to go back into the 3D, I can just drag my middle mouse button. Okay, let me give you an example just to help you understand that if you are a complete newbie. If now, e.g., I select this face over here, and I want to look at that face head on. See here, this is my X-axis. I can click X, there I am. I'm looking at the face head on. If I want to look at it, look at the other side, I can go to Y. That is the side I've selected. All right, you understand? And the same with Z on top, and if I click on Z again, I look at it from the bottom. All right, so those are your different axes. Like I said, I can drag around you like this. I can use this little gizmo in the corner here to have a look at it. Right, the next thing is that when I'm rotating around a specific point here. If I don't want to rotate around the cube anymore, so e.g., if I have something else that is here, let's say I've got this circle over here, and I want to rotate to have a look around at that circle over there. If I pan, so shift drag, and I center it over there like that. Go ahead, give it a try. Then I change where I'm rotating around. The other thing that I can do is on my keyboard, I can use the full stop on your numpad, the dot. I cannot remember what it is called, but next to your other enter button. Otherwise, view, frame selected, whatever you have selected. So how do I select? Left click on it, and then I have it selected. If I want to select this, left click. If I want to deselect, I can click in the middle of nowhere. So if I select that and I go view, frame selected, there you go. I can zoom out, and now I'm rotating around. If I select this object over here, frame selected, see there on your numpad 0 will move you there. Now I am rotating around this specific object. The next thing is the hand icon over here. Now that hand icon is also the move tool. So remember, if you hold down shift and then I middle mouse drag, I move around. Otherwise, if I have the hand and I drag on it, it's exactly the same thing. All right, and then I've got the same with my zoom in and zoom out. I can also use this icon over here. If I click and drag on it, it does the same function. So I'm moving up and now I'm moving down. I'm literally click, down, up. I'm still holding in my mouse button. That is another way of zooming. Pretty cool, hey? Pretty handy. Okay, there is this grid over here. And so there's this button over here. This switches between your perspective and your orthographic projection. Okay, the next thing is that to note the different layout spaces that Blender has prepared for us. So depending on what you're doing, Blender has a whole lot of different functions. This is the default layout which we're working in. If I'm doing modeling, you can see they've adjusted the workspace so that for better modeling. If I'm doing sculpturing, you can see they've got the right tools out here. It's default, same with UV editing, texture painting. If you're shading, okay, this one is taking quite a crunch, you can see. And if I'm animating or rendering, compositing, scripting, then you have your default layouts there. Instead of sitting and having to move all of my different panels around, and there they've got those layouts for you. The next thing is basically a few keyboard shortcuts that we have. We have this handy little menu on the side here. If you don't have it, just press T. So there's an arrow over there. If you look over there, there's an arrow. If I click on it, if I drag, then I bring it out. Okay, if I don't want it, so I click and drag. Right, if I don't want it, I can just press T. The shortcut is T. So T, and this is your select box, cursor, move, rotation, scale, transform. These are basically your transformation. So if I take this and let's say I want to move it, I can click on move. Then you see there's the gizmo that pops up. I can move it in the X direction. If I want to rotate, scale, same thing. If I want to scale my cube, or if I want to transform it, that now is same as move, but transform now has all of them in it, because that little box over there is my scale, the arrow is move, and you can see these are for your rotations. Okay, see, another menu that we have is this one, which is N, and N is basically your additional options. All right, it's basically your item that you've selected, and this menu gives your item it's basically your item location data. All right, data specific on your item. You can also go into tools, so if whatever tool you have over here, these will give you more options according to your tool that you've selected. And then your view is basically your view options in terms of this panel over here. So you can move your 3D cursor around, which we're going to talk about. You can rotate it. There's just whole lot of different, and the shortcut is N, like I said, or you can drag on that arrow over there. All right, now what is a 3D cursor? A 3D cursor is this object over here. Okay, so I'm just going to quickly drag and select and delete all of these. How do I delete? All right, the other thing to just take note is this selection box over here. I can either, like I said, left click on it. If I want to select more than one object, I can left click and drag, and I can select more than one object over there, and then X for delete, and then confirm. So if I look at this object right over here, this little thing over here, this is my 3D cursor basically. This 3D cursor helps me to place objects. So if I'm going to add something into the scene, it's going to place it wherever this 3D cursor is. Now for me to move this 3D cursor, there's several ways to do it. I can either shift right click wherever I want it. All right, the other thing I can also do is, if I go into my end menu under my view, I can also do it, I can adjust it over here. See, so there you go, X. Whoa, it's like really loose. It's hectic. See, X, Y direction, Y, I don't know. And of course the other thing is that I can move it in the Z position. The other nice thing about Blender is that I can also, if I say Shift S, now this is called a pie menu, and what happens is that these Shift S is specifically for the 3D cursor and positioning things. So and one of the options is I can move my cursor to the 3D origin, and this is this place over here. This is where Y, X, and Z meet, so I can place it back in the center. Pretty cool, huh? And what is a pie menu? A pie menu is if you use a specific hotkey. There are specific hotkeys, and when you press them, that menu will appear around wherever your cursor is. If I want to go out here, I can just curse. Listen to me. All I need to do is, so I select that hotkey, and then I can just left click whichever option I want. If I don't want to select anything, I just right click, and then it's gone. Okay, the cool thing about pie menus is that they are shortcuts. The other cool thing you can do about hotkeys is that, say for example, to bring up the hotkey, I go Shift S. All right, so Shift S and I release. But if I hold in the shortcut, so I hold down Shift, I hold down Shift, I hold down S, I haven't let go, and then I can move my mouse, and then if I move my mouse over this option and then I release the hotkey, it selects it as well. So it's a lot quicker. The next thing we're going to have a look at is all my panels on the side here. So first of all, you have this scene panel over here, and what this is, if you've ever used After Effects or you've ever used Photoshop, these are basically your layers, all right, and each layer has specific things for them. So e.g., okay, I'm gonna just quickly stick a cube back here in our scene. Now you can see there's my cube. I can hide it. I can if I've got a lot of objects, I can also put them into different collections. So I can select one, command or control select another one, and I can put that into a new collection. So in other words, I'm able to create a new collection, and I can organize all of my 3D items into that. The next thing to look at is all my tabs over here, and you'll see that these tabs are actually grouped, because you'll see this tab over here is by itself with a thick separation over there. These tabs are together, there's a separation there. These tabs are together, separation, and then there's the last one over here. The first tab that we're looking at over here, this tab over here, is very similar to this tool tab over here. So whatever tool you have, that is now your properties for that tool. Then your next group of tabs over here is basically more specific for your render. So this tab is for all your render settings. All right, so you can see you can add ambient occlusion, don't worry about that. You can do more like sort of post properties and effects on there. Your next tab that you see that looks like a printer is basically your output tab. All right, so these are what resolution you're going to output into, your what frame you're going to start at, your frames per second, this, your color settings, where it's going, etc., and so forth. Your next tab that we're looking at here is which looks like a stack of photos, is basically for your render passes. If you understand what render passes are, this is where you select that. If you don't, we're going to get to that. So these are just render passes when you render out. The very next tab that you're looking at, this is basically your general tabs. So this is more specific to set what your default camera. This is to scene right over here. What is your default camera? What background? You can set your background in here, and so forth. This, what gravity you're putting in there. This is now specifically for this scene. The next one is your world tab. And your world tab, this is where you set your background. So if you want a sky in, this is where you put your sky in. If you've got a 3D object with a background and you want a sky in the background, this is where you do it. This is also where you put in your volume. So if you want mist, maybe it's a mist scene or whatever, this is where you can do all that sort of cool stuff. Right, so that is that stack over there. Then the next lot of tabs, the next group that we're looking at, the first one is called your object tab. And this is if you've got an object selected and you want to do, you want to rotate it or change its location. Now we obviously know the one way of doing that is by going into this tab over here and then moving it. You can also do it over here. Say I want to reset this. I want to get my exact location of where it is in the X or whatever. This is where you can do it. These are the properties, your transform properties, scale, etc. This is specifically for the object that you've selected. Then the next tool that we're looking at, now this is the modifiers tab, and this is where you add modifiers. All right, modifiers, you can this is what helps you in terms of when you're modeling things that are going to help you to model. We'll get into a lot of these things later. This next tab over here is basically your particles tab. So if you're creating a particle simulation, this is where you're going to do it. Then the tab after that, these are for all of your physics, so your sims and your emulators. The tab after that, this group, is now your object constraint, and this is where if you want to do parenting. So e.g., I want to parent this camera to this cube over here. So wherever I move the cube, if you're building like a rig, maybe you are doing like a character and you need to rig up stuff that is where you're going to be doing that. If you're new, you don't even know what I'm talking about, don't worry, this is what I'm talking about. There's so much to this program. The next tab after that is now your object mesh data. I've not really played around too much with this, but what I will tell you is this texture tab, no object, yeah. What I will tell you is that with this tab, I can copy the shape of this cube onto another object, and it will copy its shape as well. Pretty cool. And then this last tab here within this group is now your shading tab, and that is where I'm going to add on shading for this cube. What is shading? If I want to add a texture onto this cube, if I want to make this cube look blue, black, if I want to make it glow, if I want to, whatever I want to do, this is where I add on my materials, this. And then the last tab right at the end here is my textures tab. Now this textures tab is not specific, it's not object specific, it's general specific. I can create a texture over here, and I can take that texture and I can do different functions with it. So I can add it onto the cube, I can do it sky, I can all sorts of stuff, but that is now your textures, yes, your textures tab. Then what I want you to notice is that as I'm selecting different items here, so over here I've got different tabs here for the cube. When I select the camera, then suddenly here I've got this camera tab that pops up here, and I've got stuff that's specific for the camera. Same with the lighting. See, now I can adjust stuff on my lighting because that changes over there. Alright, so now that we've done that, I want to do a tutorial whereby I want to model a chair. We're gonna model a chair. I'm also going to show you how to go into between object mode and edit mode, and that's what I did earlier on, when you can now start manipulating, pushing and pulling my cube into a chair. And I'm going to do something that's called extruding, where I take my cube and I'm going to extrude it into a chair. A very, very simple tutorial, and I want you guys to follow along while I'm doing this. This is the very basics of modeling, and something that I need you guys to take note is because people often, they go into modeling and they just start bending and pushing the very basic shapes that we get, and later on down the line, when they have to render, when they have to do a final output, suddenly the texturing doesn't look good, or in the render you've got weird artifacts going on and stuff like that. And we're going to cover in, if not the next tutorial after, I'm going to start talking about the whole thing of topology, because you need to make sure that your topology is correct. And like I said, I don't want to get into that right now. It is right now important that you focus on how to operate Blender and knowing your way around Blender. So very quickly, looking at this, right? If I want to, with my object selected, you notice on top here it says that I'm in object mode. You press tab and now go into edit mode, and you'll immediately see how your cube has changed. Okay, let me just center it here, frame selected, zoom out a bit so we can check. There you go. Now I am rendering out. Now within edit mode, right now you can see everything is selected, it's yellow. Alright, if I go Alt A, nothing is selected now. Now there are three different options of manipulating this thing. The first one is vertex selection. And you'll see there's these different points over here, and these different points here I can move around. Okay, and how do I do that? Exactly the same way with these. I can click move. Look at that now. Now I can suddenly move. Now you can see how you can start bending your cube and stuff around. Something that I never spoke about, Jay, is you notice how there's these little blocks over here, and that's if I want to constrain a move. So I don't just want to move it in Y. I want to move it in Y and Z. What does that mean? That means that I'm moving it in this direction and I can move it in that direction freely. So you see this block here, I'm moving it around. Notice I'm not moving it in the X direction at all, I'm just moving that. And I've got the same here. So now I'm not moving it up and down, I'm just moving it in my Y and X, and it's the same with this one as well. Okay, so that's with that little gizmo over there. Alright, so I'm going to do that. The next selection mode is this one, which is called edge selection, and that is when I can select the different edges. Alright, you can see how I've just selected that edge now. Let's say I want to come down here and I want to pull this edge out as well. So there you go. Now I've got a funny looking shape over there like that. You know, for those designers out there, that looks like a nice type of chair or something, you know, one of those like fancy schmancy ones. The next one is this one, which is called face selection, and that's now where I start selecting the faces of my object. And it's exactly the same. I can start maneuvering these things, and the rest of the mesh stay intact as I move stuff around. This is a very basic shape. It's very stiff, but you do get a lot more. Now, how am I going to make a chair is I'm going to do something called extrusion, and I extrude this object out. What does that mean? It means that I'm not going to move this face. See, I'm not going to move the face. What I'm going to do is I'm going to extrude it. See? It's almost like I've extended. See, I'm not moving it. I am extruding. There you go. That is now extrusion. And see, now I've built upon my cube. All right, I'm going to quickly undo that. And so let's begin. I'm going to select this face. I'm going to move it flat, because what I'm basically building is now the base of the chair. All right. Second thing just to take note is when modeling, try to keep the grid as your floor. You've got to try and keep things as it is in the real world. It sort of just it helps you to visualize as well. So I'm going to go out of edit mode by pressing tab, and I'm going to press Y, and you can see my object is okay. So I'm going to click over there. I'm going to move it about over there because I want to also give it's space for the legs. So you see I'm sort of planning now, so maybe we should do that. Alright, awesome. So there's the base of my chair. Alright, and you can see my rotation. This now is my center of this base over here. I'm just going to right click. I'm going to say set origin, and I'm going to say geometry to origin. Alright, there you go. Because what happens is if you keep it like this, if I'm going to rotate it, can you see where it's rotating around? So that just makes it like absolutely freaking difficult. Right, so right click, set our origin, and I'm going to say geometry to origin, or I suppose you could also do it the other way. So geometry to origin or origin to geometry. There you go. And that basically sets now your sense. Right, the next thing I'm going to do, now we start extruding. So, all right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back into edit mode. And what I'm going to do is, for me to manipulate this object, the shape a bit more, I need to create more edges. So I'm going to select Control R, and you can see this thing. Okay, it's Command R on Mac, and you can see I have different. I haven't selected yet. I've just selected Control R, and I'm moving my mouse over the object, and it's giving me options on where I'd like to sort of split this. So I want to split it there. When I click once, it splits it. Then I now have the option to move this more specifically where I want it. So I'm going to do it about over there. Awesome. Now I'm going to go to face selection. I'm going to select this face over here, and I'm going to extrude it. So again, I'm going to select E to extrude, and if you're not getting it's specifically extruding in my Z. Yes, now this is something else that I can teach you guys as well. So I'm able to select E for extrude, and then if I then follow the E with in which direction I want to extrude it, it's going to constrain it to that direction. So right now it's constrained to Z, but let's say I want to do it to Y. Then I click Y. See, which looks weird, but in some ways you will work it. Or I can select X, and that's all do. So I'm going to select Z because I want it to, so it can extrude in a specific direction. So there you go. When I'm done, I can click, right, left click, and there you go. There it's done. Right, now I want to model, I want to add on my legs. All right, this is a very simple chair. All right, so please don't judge me. Otherwise I can get very complicated and then I can lose you guys completely. So what do we do? Control R or Command R. There you go. Let's do it there. Okay, luckily for me, there's already that, right? And I want to do the legs. So Command R again. There you go. Let's do it about there. I'm going to do this very loosely, all right? What I should usually do is come over here, get the measurements right. So if you guys want to be very absolutely specific so that everything is in together. Okay, some of my friends would say, yeah, right, yeah, because they know that I'm not very detailed. So there you go. Okay, then what do I want to do? Who can guess? I'm going to go back to face selection. I'm going to select all of these. I'm going to hold down shift and I'm going to select all these other guys over here. Okay, pretty awesome. Who can guess what we are doing next? Now I'm going to extrude. Go along here. There's my grid floor, and I'm going to select E and Z, followed by the letter Z so that I can constrain it down to there. Okay, go back into object mode, and congratulations, we have turned a cube into a nice cool chair. There it is. That's going to work extremely well. Okay, so there is our chair. So you guys go ahead and you do that as well. If you can think of any other shape that you would like to do, go for it, give it a shot, give it a bash. Guys, if I can say, when it comes to 3D, don't give up, all right, unless you lose patience. Modeling, I love modeling. I really enjoy modeling. I can sit an all-nighter modeling something very specific, and I have done that before where I've gotten stuck into modeling something. Okay, I've gotten reference images off the internet. I've made sure that I've gotten a side view, a top view, a front view, all the views that I can imagine. And from that, I then can model up things. That's why I modeled a Lego block. All right, let me show you my Lego block quickly. And this is my Lego block. And I modeled this. It did take me a night because I had to keep redoing. I know it looks simple. Well, you go ahead, you give it a shot. I mean, look how beautiful how smooth those curves are. All right, this thing is beautiful. My beautiful Lego block. Yes, even the bottom. Okay, I just need to add in other things that are not there. But I modeled this thing this was, I think, my 4th attempt until I got it right, until I was happy. Go ahead, do it. The more you model, the more you're going to learn how to get these things right. Okay, so with that said and done, guys, I hope that you guys built beautiful chairs. I hope they look fantastic. Don't be scared to try and model things. Otherwise, if you really get frustrated, try it again, or I'll stick by for my next tutorial that we will do. Alright, so till next week, guys, don't be scared to share what you've done, whether you're going to send it to me. My email address there it is. That's my email address. You can send me what you've done. If you need help, I will be more than willing to help you. Put a comment below asking me, Ryan, how did you do this or that? Or this is my result. It's not working out. Why? I will definitely help you out. I will not stay scarce or private or whatever. So yeah, there it is, guys. And don't forget, subscribe, because Active TV has tons of videos being released every day. I think like 3 or 4 videos every single day. So we always have new content, and you want to be reminded of that. So you say, Ryan, please remind me. Well, hit the subscribe button and hit the bell button, and don't forget to like, because what happens is when you subscribe, then you'll get notifications of the next video that gets released. We have videos like the Situation Room that comes out every day at 3 o'clock. That is news from a Christian point of view, as well as what's happening with the pandemic and some other juicy stuff inside there. Go check that out. That is with my pastor, Pastor Gavin. There's other shows like the vocal tutorial. Go check out the guitar tutorial. There's a show called Are You Up, Babes? That happens on a Tuesday. That one's cool. At the moment, Pastor Vicky's dealing on a thing of the end times. We also have our movies that are up on there as well. We've done Stavros, a movie called Stavros. Go check it out. We also did a movie called Jack Leaper, which we've showed all of them. Damascus, which was our recent movie production that we did in 2018. And we are working on our 2019 production at the moment, which will be released on Active TV as well. So if you want to know when that's going to get released, there you go. All right, so hit subscribe until next week. Guys, check you guys next week on Blender. Cheers.